In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make this custom, 100% custom checkout form that is ideal for selling any type of online course, any type of drop shipping product. It is a beautiful checkout page. Let's take a deeper look at this checkout page. Here we have a hero image. It's very lean and minimal. We have the name of our course right here. Of course, this could be used for anything. We have a subheading here, which also lists out the cost of this course. We have an area for a video, and underneath it would be ideal to put some testimonials. The real highlight, though, of this tutorial is how to make the checkout form look this beautiful, simple, and minimalistic. So we have it right here where we are displaying a countdown timer, and this is to encourage scarcity. And obviously you want to have real scarcity, so you want to stick to your countdown timers. And then we are just asking what we need here for the checkout form. And then here the person can then check out and pay for this course. It's very lean, very minimalistic, and we're going to do this in this video. And we're going to use a couple tools. The page building tool I'm going to be using is Elementor, and I'm going to use Elementor Pro for this countdown timer. Now you can use any page building tool that you want that will work with CartFlows, because we're also going to be using CartFlows and CartFlows Pro to be able to get this beautiful, simple, elegant checkout form. Now, I really wanted to make this tutorial to just show off the power and flexibility of using CartFlows to create beautifully handcrafted custom checkout pages. Now, there's a lot more to CartFlows Pro. We can have order bumps, upsells. There's a lot of things we could do with it, but this video we're just going to focus on how you can use CartFlows to create custom checkout experiences. So let's go ahead and get started. So obviously you can see I've already created it right here, but let's go ahead and recreate it here on a totally different site. Now, if you don't have CartFlows installed, it's pretty simple. You'll go to Plugins, Add New, do a search for CartFlows, and when you install and activate it, there'll be an onboarding process that will ask you a few questions and get it set up for you. And then once you've done that, you'll want to have already installed and activated CartFlows Pro, because it has certain features that we're going to need in order to accomplish this checkout. And you don't have to use Elementor Pro if you don't want to, but it's good to get that countdown timer. You might have some other way of getting that countdown timer. So let's get started. I'm going to go to CartFlows. I'll click on Flows right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on Add New. And I'm not going to use any of the templates. We're doing this 100% custom. So I'm going to click on Create Your Own, and then I'll click on this option here that says Design Your Flow. It's just going to take a moment or two, and it's going to create everything in our basic structure, which is a sales page, a checkout page, and a thank you page. However, we're not going to use a sales page in this tutorial. We're just going to have everything be on the checkout page. So I'm going to go ahead and click on delete for that sales landing page. And then we're just left with the checkout and the thank you page. So I'm going to go ahead and enter a name for this flow. So I've gone ahead and named this minimal checkout. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to click on update. So now we have this saved. So what I need to do now is I'm going to go in and start working on creating this checkout. So I'm going to go ahead and click on edit for the checkout page. And here I am. So the first thing I like to do is I like to change the name of the checkout, and I also like to change the link here of the checkout. So I'm going to go ahead and change that now. So I've named it Ecom Hacks, and I've named this slug that as well. So that's going to be the direct link that will take someone to this checkout page. So next what I want to do is start customizing the checkout form a bit to match what we have going on here. And we're going to first go down and let's select our product first. It's usually the first step. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to enter the name of the course that I've already created. We're going to name the course Ecom Hacks Academy. That's the name of the product. I'm not going to add an order bump in this example, and we also have a feature called pre-checkout upsells. If I wanted an upsell, I would probably use this pre-checkout upsell. Maybe we'll do that at the end of the video. I'm going to click on Checkout Design. So the design I'm going to use is a one-column design, and the primary color I'm going to set to black, and that's to get that rich black color in the button down here to place the order. So you could choose any color that you want. I wanted that rich black color, and it kind of matches the dark tones that we have up here in our hero area right there. So let's get back over here. And the next thing I need to enable is what's called floating labels. And that's where you see the label is not above the field, it's in there. So when someone clicks, it just has that slick animation. And the way we do that is we're going to click enable on advanced options, and it's right here for input fields style. And that's floating labels. So that's going to get that for us. Now the next thing we want to do is modify the order of the checkout fields and which checkout fields we're actually using. So I'm going to click on checkout fields, and I'm not showing a lot of things here, such as the coupon option, the additional information option. So we're going to uncheck some of these. So I don't want to show the coupon or the additional field, and we don't need to have the ship to different address because this is a digital product, but we do need to modify the custom field. So I'm going to check that box. And then here are all of our fields right here. So first thing, I always like to ask for the email first. So I'm going to drag that to the top. And then I'm going to hide some of these fields that I don't need the information. So I don't need the phone number. And what you need to ask is dependent upon your payment gateway. In this case, I'm using Stripe. So I have my Stripe set to require asking for the zip code, but you can go into Stripe and I think there's a way of disabling that. So I'm just going to ask for the entire address anyway. And that's what you see I'm doing here. I'm asking for the first name, last name, and just the address. So let's do the same thing here. First name, last name. So I'm going to click on the I to hide company name. I'm not going to show the country or ask for the country, so I'm going to click on that. And I don't want to ask for street address too. You might want to though, but I'm going to turn that off. And then we have the street, city, state, and zip. We'll go ahead and keep asking those. Now, what I need to do though is to make sure that it's set so each field takes up the entire width of the container. So you can set it to take up the entire amount, half of the amount. So if we wanted it to be first name and last name off to the side, that would be setting each field to take up half. The way you change that setting is there's a little drop down for each field and it says field width, and you can also change your labels and placeholders and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and check that for my first and last name, and you can see they're set to 50 by default. I'm going to change that to 100% because I want it to take the full width, both of these. So I'm going to do the same for last name like that, and then I want to verify how I have it for my address fields. So for street address, I want that to be 100%. And then down here, I'll do 30% for each. And that's what I'm doing here, 30, 30, 30, or 33 if we want to get technical. So let's make sure that's what it's set to. And this is set correctly, that is set correctly, and that is set correctly. And in the United States, where I am, we don't use the word town, we use the word city. So I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of where it says town and just leave it saying city. That's fine right there. Okay, and that is pretty much all that we're going to do inside of CartFlows. So I'm going to go ahead and click on update just like this. And let me go here and see how we have this. All right. So now what I need to do is start creating my page in Elementor. And the first thing you're going to want to do is click right here where it says shortcodes and just drop this into your clipboard really quick. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Now there's one more setting that I just noticed under post attributes where it says template. We want this to say template for page builders because I'm going to create this page using Elementor. So I'll choose that and then click on update. Okay, now let's do the fun part. Like I said, you can use your page builder of choice, but in this example, I'm going to be using Elementor. So I'll click on Edit with Elementor, and it's going to be completely blank because there's no design here yet. We're going to make a design right now. So the way I have this set up is I have a section here, and I have a heading and another heading, and then underneath it I have another section that has two columns. So we have the column here for the video and some content, and then we have this column right here. Now what I did to this column is I put a little bit of a box shadow right here to make it look lifted, and then I pulled the column up so there's this overlapping effect. So we're going to need to do all of that right now, but you're going to see how easy it is to kind of pull this off. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is create a section, so I'll click on plus. Now I have it set up as 2 separate columns, just like that. And then what we're going to want to do is go into the settings of the section, and we're going to want to put some kind of a background image. So I'm going to click on style, and let's just see what's actually in here. So I'll click on this, and here's my option for an image. I'm sure I have a nice background image I can just choose in here. Oh, there's one right here. Let's make sure it's wide enough. That's probably not that wide. Actually, I'll choose this one right here, although we're not going to be able to use a lot of it. So the highlight of the design though is not the image that's there, but you can use a solid color, whatever you want. And I also added a background overlay, and what I will do is click background overlay. I'll choose classic, and I used a dark color like this, so we'll see what it is once we start adding a bit of content. So I will add a heading here, and I will add a, let's actually just change the color of that. So I'm going to choose style, and for the text color I'm going to make it white. And one of the things I love about Elementor is this right click, so I can literally right click on it and then choose duplicate, and there's right click options. So you see this nasty looking gap between these two, and this is called an element gap. So if I click right here to edit the column structure, there's an option here. Actually, it's a widget space, sorry. So I can click there, and it's set to 20 pixels, but if I put a 0 there, there'll be no gap between them, and that's pretty much the look that I'm after. Just for some SEO stuff, I'm going to click on the top heading, and I'm going to go to content right here and make sure it's set as an H1. It's currently set as an H2. And for underneath it, I'll click there, and I will make sure this is maybe an H4, something like that. And I'm going to do some more things to style how these look, but I just wanted to get the basic structure in place. So I want to add a bit of spacing. So I'm going to click right here to edit my section, and then I'll click on layout. And we have different options. We could add a minimum height. We can add some margin or padding or something like that. So what I might do is choose for height, I'll choose maybe minimum height. I might change this later. And then we have this slider to decide how tall we want it. So I think I will go something like maybe 200, like that. But I want my content to not be centered like this. But the nice thing is we have an option for that as well. So it says right here, the column position, it says middle. Let's go ahead and change that to bottom. And then we'll pull that up a little bit a little later when we're doing some finishing touches. So we're getting there. You know, we got a little bit of a ways to go. We're definitely getting there. Okay, we'll leave this like that. You can change the size of your columns like this. So I'll just, you know, maybe make this the size of 60 here and 40 there. Okay, now let's go ahead and put the column underneath it. So, or the section underneath it. So I'm going to click on plus, and I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to do the 2 columns like that, and let's change the width to kind of match it. This actually isn't important to have it match, but I'm going to do the 40% here and the 40% there, and 60-60. So now I'll just go ahead and drag and drop a video in like this. We've got our video, and we could just use the default one right there. That's fine. Or put in a YouTube video or a link to any video you want. Vimeo, Dailymotion, or self-hosted. And then I think I just have a heading and just some text there. So let's just go ahead and do that real quick. We're going to put a heading underneath it, and then I'll click on the dial pad, and I'm going to go ahead and put some text underneath it. And there we go. Okay, so now let's get started on the highlight of this, which is this beautiful checkout form that we're going to add. And we're going to do some styling here. So what I want to do is drag and drop the short code element. So I'm going to do a search for short, and here it is. I'll drag and drop that there. And then right here, I'm going to go ahead and paste in my short code. There it is. And I'm going to click on apply. And you can see it's showing what it's pretty much going to end up looking like. However, you're going to notice some differences. When I do it here, I don't have some of those headings that you see, such as billing, and I don't have your order, and I don't have the bit underneath it that's showing a confirmation of what's being ordered, and I'm actually doing that on purpose. So I'm going to show you how to hide those to kind of condense it up a bit. Okay, so let's get some of our styling in. So I'm going to click this icon here, and I'm going to edit this entire column, the styling of this column. So let's go. I'll click on style right here. And for the background, I'm going to make it be a white background. So I'll click there and I'll click there and we have a white background. And then for the border, when I click on that, this is where we're going to get the option of adding a box shadow. So there we go. And so now we have this box shadow going. You can see it right there. But let's soften it up. I actually don't like that much box shadow. So I'm going to click on the little icon here next to it. I'll click on the color. I usually like to drag this down so you can see something like that. And you can see right there now it says 2. So as I was changing this dial, this number right here goes up or down. Okay, I like to make that around 20 or so to make it just a little bit more subtle, the drop shadow there. Now, another thing I like to do is I like to add a border radius. So if you notice, it's rounded here. That's called a border radius. I usually just by default go with 5. So I enter 5 there, and now it's kind of rounded it up. But it's hard for you to see because it's on top of a white background. So let's go ahead and do a little bit more styling touch up here. So first of all, you can see I have what's called padding, and that's the space inside. So the space of the edge of the column and what's in the column. I have this padding. It looks like I might have 20 or 40 pixels of padding. So let's go ahead and play around with that. So I'm going to click on the Advanced tab, and here's our padding. So let's see what happens when I do 20. Yeah, that looks about right. 20, 20, that looks good. Now what I need to do is an advanced technique, which is to pull this column up so it's overlapping this hero image. And the way we do that is pretty simple. We add something called a negative margin. So I'm actually already on the margin settings for the column right here. So I'm going to uncheck this, because if I put a number here, like say 100, it applies it to everything at the same time when this is clicked. So let's go ahead and clear that out, and I'm going to unlink all of these. And so what I need to do is add what's called a negative margin to the top, and that's what's going to pull it up. So I'm going to put a 100, and that's pushing it down. But if I go to the left of the 100 and I put the negative sign, it lifts it up. And now let me preview it. I can click this little icon here to preview it, and so you can see it pulled it up. It's looking pretty good. I have some padding in there. I still have to get rid of some of these headings like billing details and all that, but so far, you know, we're getting there. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So these two columns are actually a little too close together for my liking, so I'm going to add that same kind of padding to this right here, and I'm also going to add it to this. So I'm going to click right here for the column settings. I'm going to click on advanced, and I'm going to add that 20 pixels of padding just like that. And you see how now there's a little bit more space, and I think I might have used a little bit more here than I did there, or I might have used some margin on this element, but we'll get there. We're getting there. Actually here, let's go ahead and add 40 instead. So I'm going to add 40, not 50, I'm going to add 40 like that. And that actually looks a little bit better. Never be afraid to get some good spacing in there. And I'm going to do the same thing right here to this column. So I'm going to click on that column, advanced, and let's do 40 like that. And actually that's looking pretty good right there. If I preview it, that's looking pretty close to what I have going on. So let's go ahead and do that. So you can see I have my black order button there, which is what I wanted, but I'm showing these billing details and your order and this right here, which is the order details, and I don't want to show any of that as a matter of fact. So we have to hide that with something called custom CSS. So let me actually just copy it out of this right here. So I'm going to click on edit with Elementor here so I can just do a quick copy and paste. Now I'll put this in the video description box, and I'll also put this on the CartFlows website. So I'm going to click right here, and I'm on the short code, and this is where it is. It's custom CSS. Let me just copy it out of here, and then I'm going to show you where you want to get this custom CSS, where you want to place it. Now every page builder is a little different, but they all have a spot to put custom CSS, and it would only apply on the page that you're on. So I'm going to go ahead with Elementor. There's two locations, right? So if you're using the free version of Elementor, you can click on the click wheel here on the bottom left for settings. You click on that, and then you go to advanced, and then here's where you could paste in your custom CSS. Or optionally, you can link it in with the particular module it applies to. So in this case, it's the shortcode module, and I click here. I can click on advanced, and then down here it says custom CSS. So there's these two locations you could place it. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that in right here, and you're going to see there's three different CSS entries. The first one here is to hide where it said billing details. The second one right here is where you would hide where it says your order details. Now, you don't need the order details if you're going to show the price someplace else on the checkout page. So that's why I chose to hide it. And then lastly, right here is that grid where it showed you the order details. So this was the title, your order details, the actual text, and this is where it actually showed you those details. So I'm going to click on update, and let's go ahead and see what this is looking like already. So I'm going to click where it says preview changes. It's going to open up in a new tab, and it's going to show me it's looking pretty close so far. Now, I don't have a payment gateway connected yet on this site. I should do that so you can get the full experience of it. Okay, so what we need to do is now at the top, we're going to actually here, let me get out of here and see what we're going to add next. Oops, that's actually not what I wanted to do. Let me get back into Elementor. I wanted to do it here. We need to get this heading here, and we need to put a countdown timer in here. So let's go ahead and do that. And okay, this is like a little caching thing right here that I'll get resolved. All right, so I'm back in here. I want to get a title, and I want to get a countdown timer. So getting a title is like super easy. I drag and drop it, and there it is. There's my heading. And since we have this overlap going on where we're using this negative margin, there's a column up here that's kind of getting in the way. So what I'm going to do is click here on this column. This is advanced. I'll click on advanced, and there's something here called Z index. I just need to have a number greater than 1, and now this will be on top of everything up here. Okay, so here's my heading. I just centered it, so I'm going to click on it and click on center. And now what I need to do is a countdown timer. Now, a countdown timer is really the only feature we're using in Elementor Pro in this. If you have some other way of doing a countdown timer, that's great. But I'm just going to use the one with Elementor Pro. So I'm going to do a search right here for countdown, and there it is. And I'm going to place that in between the checkout form and that. Okay, so right off the bat, this is looking way too big. You could style this however you want. It's actually quite easy. So first you would want to choose, is it an evergreen timer that maybe expires, the counter starts the first time someone hits the page or not? That's up to you. So let's go ahead and make this 7 days from now. There we go. There we go, like that. There we go, 7 days from now. This is called the block view. This is called the inline view. So I did the inline view. So let's choose that. I changed the labels. So where it says custom labels, I turned this on, and now you have an option of changing these labels. So I abbreviated minutes and I abbreviated seconds just like that. And so that looks good. And then you also, with Elementor, you get this option what to do when it expires. You can actually make this entire checkout page disappear when it expires and redirect someplace else. So you can choose the redirect option, and you can redirect someone to a sorry, this is no longer, enrollments are now closed, or something like that. So you have those options, and there's also an option to hide the checkout form or show a message. I think redirect makes the most sense. Okay, let's get this looking a little bit better. It's kind of gigantic right now. So, okay, so I'm going to click on Style. And the first thing is the background color. I'm going to make it white so it matches the white background. So I'm going to click there, choose white. But now I can't see anything because the font was also white. So the font was found inside of the content. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Content. And for the digits, I'm going to make that, I want to make it that custom red. So I did a Google search and I said, what is like the alert red color? And this is what I came up with, this kind of color. So I came up with this color code right here. So I'm going to copy that, and let's go ahead and use that. So for the digits, I'll click right here and I'll paste in that color code. And I'm going to do the same thing for the label. I'm going to paste in that color code, and there we have it. We got that nice color, but it's still too big. So for typography, I'll click here, and I'm going to change the size of this. I don't need the numbers to be that big. I think that's good, maybe a size 40. And I'm going to maybe make this a little smaller, the size of the label. Actually, here, let's make it 35, something like that. And I want the thickness of the font to be larger, and that's the weight. So I'm going to choose like 900 there. There we go. We got that nice thick color there. Here, let's do that. Let's go down to 30 to get that looking right. And so we can play around as well with the size of the font for the label. If I wanted that smaller, I'd click here, and we can kind of come up with something right there. 18 is fine. That actually looks pretty good. I like that. That came out looking decent to me. All right, so since we hid the your order details and the cost of the course, you need to enter in the cost of that course someplace else. So I actually entered it right here, as you can see in my example. I put this text right here, join today for a one-time payment. So I just copied that, so let's just go ahead and paste that, and there we go. I also I wanted it to look a little different from the heading above. So let's click on Style, and let's click on Typography, and I changed the style to be italic like that. There we go. And also changed the weight for it to be kind of thin like that. And there we go. So now we have the price and all of that, and then you can put the name of your course right here. So what I did is I named it Ecom Hacks Academy. There we go. Let's go there, Ecom Hacks Academy, and we will enter that here. Actually, let me enter it right here like that. And I made the font larger. I just wanted it to stand out a bit more, so I'll click on Style, and then let's click where it says Typography, and we can make this a little larger. Maybe like something like 30, 35, 36 is good. All right, 36. There we go. And it's already looking really, really close. Actually, this is exactly, actually, down here, I want to push it down, add some margin down there. So you can see when I scroll down, we have some spacing. So the way we do that is we're going to get back in, let's get out of preview mode. Let's go back into the column settings, and so for margin, I have that -100, which pulls it up, but for the bottom, I'm going to add 100, and that's going to push it down. Okay, so let me click on Update, and then let me go here on the front end and do a refresh, and it's looking pretty good. Now we have this little funky icon thing going in here. I had to pause the video for a moment to find out why the heck that was happening. I'd never seen that before. It wasn't caching related. It was because I didn't connect any payment gateways, and that's why that was showing. So what I did is I enabled Stripe, my payment gateway, and I put in my test credentials. As you can see, I now have the payment form here for Stripe. If you're using live credentials, you don't get this message right here. This is just when you're in test mode. and I put that in and then it went away. So you can see it's actually looking pretty close to the example right here. You can see, let me go ahead and get out of the test mode right here. Let's go in the editor. You can see it's looking really close to the example right here, and it wasn't really that hard to accomplish this really sleek 100% custom checkout. Now obviously there's a whole heck of a lot more styling we could do. You can see I played around with this spacing a little bit here. You might want to do that to get the styling just right. But the main thing I wanted to show in this video is how easy it is to make your own custom checkout pages completely from scratch, and how flexible CartFlows Pro is when it comes to the checkout forms or fields, the layout, everything, and you can literally place it wherever the heck you want. We came really close to it right here. Now a couple additional things I would do if I was using this design myself is I would probably use some of the modules that, if you don't have Elementor Pro, that's okay. I would get ultimate add-ons for Elementor. They have a really great video module, so when you scroll down, the video can be shrunk and can stick to the page if you're going to have a long sales page. If you wanted to make this a long sales page, another thing I would have done is I would make the checkout form sticky. So as someone starts to scroll down, it sticks with them. I would probably do something along those lines as well. If I didn't need the address for my payment gateway, or for some reason that I would want it, I would definitely disable those fields and only ask for what you actually need. But there's a ton of flexibility that you get here using CartFlows, and you can accomplish this all quite easy. So anyways, that's all that I have for you in this video tutorial. I hope that you've seen some of the great things that you're going to be able to accomplish using CartFlows Pro. I'll have a link to CartFlows Pro down below, and I will have a link to get you that custom CSS, those 3 custom CSS entries that I use to hide where it's the headings, and I use to hide the order details, because why show someone something when they already know what it's going to cost? Because you're saying what it's going to cost someplace else. Hey, if you appreciated this video, I'd really appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up right now. You can ask questions down below and share this with people that you know that might be looking for a completely brandable and customized checkout experience for their website. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.